Hi there, and welcome to The Daily Gardener, an almanac of garden history, literature, and small botanical joys. I'm Jennifer Ebeling, and today is March 17th. Today, a lot of people are looking for green, something bright enough to pin on a coat, and something that signals belonging at a glance. But in the garden, green doesn't always announce itself that way. It stays low, it spreads slowly. It shows up in damp corners and dark basements, in moss pressed into stone, in a tuber swelling quietly where no one can see it yet. Some green things are meant to be noticed. Others just keep going, whether we mark the day or not. So today, we're walking with people who worked close to the ground, naming carefully, looking longer than most, and leaving traces that didn't always carry their names with them. Here's today's garden history. It was on this day in 1751 that the Swedish botanist Anders Dahl was born. Anders came of age in the shadow of a giant. As a young man, he studied under Carl Linnaeus, learning a way of seeing the natural world through careful naming, order, and fidelity to what could be observed. Anders was devoted to that work, but his studies were repeatedly interrupted. When his father died, Anders left his training behind to support his family. Years passed before he was able to return, and only then through the quiet help of patrons who believed his work mattered. Even so, his loyalty to Linnaeus never wavered, especially after his death. At that time, Anders was entrusted with a delicate task, sorting the Linnaean collections, carefully distinguishing which specimens belonged to Linnaeus himself and which belonged to Linnaeus's son. It was work that required restraint and humility. By then, Anders' own time was already narrowing. Anders died in 1789 at the age of 39 from a terrible pneumonia. 2 years later, a Spanish botanist, Antonio José Cabanillas, named a new genus in his honor, the dahlia. Anders never saw the plant that would carry his name. Early on, the dahlia was tested for usefulness. Its tubers were compared to the potato, but the taste disappointed. It was bland, bitter, and unremarkable, and so it was spared. Because it failed as a food, it was allowed to become ornamental. And there are stories passed along in botanical circles that the first curly-petaled flowers of a hawthorn reminded Anders' friend Carl Peter Thunberg of his long hair and his heavy beard. He named it Dahlia crinita, or long-haired, a private joke carried forward in Latin. Anders' most consequential work, however, had nothing to do with flowers. In 1784, working along the Swedish coast, Anders published a study on groundwater contamination caused by herring oil rendering plants, one of the earliest environmental impact studies ever performed in Europe. Anders' work helped protect shared water sources in places where industry pressed close to daily life. The herbarium that Anders spent a decade assembling, a backup of Linnaeus's collection with more than 6,000 specimens, was later stored in Turku, Finland, where he had been hired as a professor. But sadly, it was destroyed in the Great Fire of 1827. What remains of Anders Dahl now is not the paper record. It's the choice gardeners make each fall when they are tired, when frost threatens, when the season feels unfinished, and they lift a tuber anyway, to store it carefully and to remember to plant it again. Dahlias do not return on their own. They come back only if someone decides they're worth carrying forward. And it was on this day, in 1785, that the Irish botanist Ellen Hutchins was born. She was raised in County Cork. Ellen spent most of her short life along the rugged shore of Bantry Bay, where land is stripped bare by wind and water, and the plants must cling or disappear. From an early age, Ellen's health was fragile. While living in Dublin as a young woman, she fell seriously ill and was sent home to County Cork to recover. When Ellen's illness lingered, her physician, Dr. Whitley Stokes, worried the long convalescence and the isolation might undo her. So he gave her something to do when he gave her two small gifts. First, a magnifying glass, and then a botany book, along with instructions to study the land around her. And she did. Ellen's focus quickly settled on cryptograms, small plants without flowers, the kind of little living things most people step over or ignore. Mosses, lichens, seaweeds. In these, Ellen found an entire universe in a single tide pool. To Ellen, these specimens were endlessly fascinating. Ellen collected relentlessly, rowing out into Bantry Bay, wading into tide pools, and then returning home with seawater still dripping from her skirts. Ellen learned to work quickly. Seaweeds begin to deteriorate almost as soon as they leave the water, and she soon learned how little time she had to capture them intact. Ellen turned her family's parlor into a working laboratory. Porcelain basins for rinsing specimens, fine needles for arranging translucent fronds, and sheets of paper spread carefully across tables before the plants could collapse. Imagine her little small house in County Cork, wood smoke, old books, and the sharp, briny tang of the Atlantic Ocean carried in with every specimen. While many of her friends passed their days indoors with embroidery, Ellen's fingers were stained by sea salt and tinged green by her work. Reflecting on her tenacity years later, the English botanist Sir James Edward Smith once said that Ellen could find almost anything among cryptograms. In terms of posterity, Ellen rarely published under her own name, yet her specimens and drawings formed the backbone of major botanical works by others. And today, dozens of species still carry her name. Ellen Hutchins died in 1815. She was 29. In the years that followed, her friends and neighbors remembered her and spoke of Miss Ellen's garden, a small patch of ground where rare mosses appeared unexpectedly, as if she had only just stepped away. In today's Unearthed Words, we hear a poem from the English poet and novelist Jean Ingelow, a Victorian writer born on this day, March 17th, in 1820. Jean Ingelow was a woman writer whose work was widely read in her lifetime, especially by ordinary readers who learned landscapes by living them. During Jean's lifetime, knowledge of plants and places was learned firsthand by walking, watching, and noticing what returned each year and what did not. Here's Jean Ingelow writing about a garden in her poem called Divided. An empty sky, a world of heather, purple of foxglove, yellow of broom. We two among them waiting together, shaking out honey, treading perfume. Crowds of bees are giddy with clover. Crowds of grasshoppers skip at our feet. Crowds of larks at their matins hang over, thanking the Lord for a life so sweet. Flusheth the rise of her purple favor, gloweth the cleft with her golden ring. twixt the two brown butterflies waver, lightly settle, and sleepily swing. Hand in hand, while the sun peered over, we lapped the grass on that youngling spring, swept back its rushes, smoothed its clover, and said, "Let us follow it, westering." We hear these words today in mid-March, when winter has not quite let go, when the garden is still undecided, and hope, like everything else this time of year, leans toward the light, without knowing what will come next. It's time to grow that garden library with today's book, A Garden in the Hills by Katharine Stewart. As we continue British Gardens Week here on The Daily Gardener, today's book recommendations gently widen the definition of what a British garden can be. In A Garden in the Hills, Katharine Stewart wrote about her life after leaving city life in Edinburgh behind in 1950. That's when she, her husband Sam, and their young daughter Hilda walked away from running a hotel and took on a remote croft, a small working homestead in the Scottish Highlands overlooking Loch Ness. Yes, that Loch Ness. Katharine's garden sat in a hard place, wind-scoured, thin-soiled, and shaped by winters that made no concessions. What makes this book endure isn't just the setting, it's the steadiness of Katharine's voice. She arrived there in the thick of life and wrote from inside the work, raising a family, keeping a household going, learning what the land would allow and what it would not. Katharine's year unfolds through real labor, planting and weather, failure and return, what survived and what had to go. Gardeners love this book because it doesn't romanticize hardship and it doesn't offer solutions. It simply shows what it looks like to stay with a place long enough to understand it. A Garden in the Hills is a book to keep close, not for instruction, but for company, especially when the season itself feels honest and demanding and is still quietly moving forward. And finally, here's something sweet to ignite the little botanic spark in your heart. Today is St. Patrick's Day, celebrated every year on March 17th. And with it comes a plant that has come to symbolize the day, the shamrock. Botanically, the shamrock refers to clover, trifolium. The shamrock was familiar long before it was symbolic, long before it appeared on flags or lapels. It lived a quiet life, threaded through pastures, paths, and the places people walk every day. The shamrock became symbolic through story. St. Patrick is said to have held up a small sprig of clover to explain the three in one, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. He wisely chose something people already knew, not a rare plant, not a showy one, but something reliable, something that had returned to the land again and again, season after season. And that mattered because it gave the story staying power, just like the plant itself. Most clovers come in threes. Those three leaves have long been said to stand for faith, hope, and love. But when a fourth leaf appears, rare and unexpected, that's where luck enters the story. There's an old saying that a good friend is like a four-leaf clover, hard to find and lucky to have. Botanically, the shamrock was never just one plant. In Ireland, people have long known many types of clover, recognized by their blooms: white, yellow, sometimes red. Different flowers, same quiet work. Clover holds soil together. It feeds pollinators And unlike most plants, it gives back to the ground, restoring nitrogen instead of taking it. Small plants, mighty work. Today, many of the shamrocks sold to mark St. Patrick's Day are something else entirely. They're usually a familiar houseplant, oxalis, with delicate stems and little leaves that open and close with the light. Many of us remember it from a grandmother's dining room or a sunny windowsill, tilting toward the window by day, folding itself closed at night. It isn't Irish clover, but it does carry the story forward. And so today, it feels right to end with an Irish toast. May your blessings outnumber the shamrocks that grow, and may trouble avoid you wherever you go. As we close the show today, remember, gardens are made from ordinary things, plants that return, stories that get told again, and work that looks small until you add it up over time. Some days in the garden are full of ceremony. Others are quiet, familiar, almost forgettable. And yet, those are often the days that shape us the most. Thanks for listening to The Daily Gardener. And remember, for a happy, healthy life, garden every day.